All right, first of all, Roy, thanks for joining us here on Astro SuperSport. It's really nice to meet you. I
Pleasure.
think first and foremost, we have to start with the fact that you and Crystal Palace just seems to be one ever since your return. There's been an uptick in results. The players seem to have a spring in their step. The atmosphere is absolutely different. So what was it that you said in that dressing room the first day back in Palace?
Oh, I didn't say very much. I think it's more a question of trying to make certain when you get onto the field of play, the players understand where you're coming from and perhaps what you're looking for from them and what sort of performances you're going to be looking for in terms of how the team's going to attack and how the team's going to defend. But we didn't spend a lot of time actually talking or, debating what's gone on or what is going to go on. It was more a question of, well, here we are now, we're working together. We have very clear ideas about what we'd like to see from the team, and we're going to try and sell those ideas to you. We're going to try and transmit, if you like, our vision for the way the team's going to play, and we're going to do that on the field of play, backed up, of course, by the videos that you get these days. We get very good video analysis of matches we played and matches we're going to play, so we can prepare the team for the opposition. We're going to just do all of those things and work together and hope that we can really bring out what we think will be the best of your qualities as individual players and as a team, because we thought, seeing it from the outside, that this was a group of players that had qualities. I knew there was quite a few of them. I knew a good 6 or 7. I knew what qualities they had, so I knew I was coming into a group which had qualities, and I knew I was coming into a group as well that would have a good attitude. So it was getting to know, if you like, about half the team, which weren't here when I left, and I'd only seen them play on television, but it was pretty obvious that they weren't short of talent, and it was our job, if you like, to encourage them to use that talent and to make certain that they use whatever talent they had to make the team better. And it's been a pretty easy task, I must say.
But it is pretty much 180 degrees of a difference, literally from the day you walked through that door this time round, in terms of the results. So what would you say from your perspective is that one difference that you made that brought on the most effect?
It's not easy to answer those questions because you're talking too much about yourself and you're probably giving yourself airs and graces that perhaps you don't deserve. I mean, they're really questions which only a player can answer in a way, because I don't know how the players were feeling or what their attitude towards anything was before I came. We've stayed well away from discussing anything like that. We've made no comparisons. We haven't asked questions. Other than the obvious ones, how many sessions were you doing and what sort of work were you doing, so that we could tailor, if you like, some of the work we wanted to do. But we certainly haven't been trying to say, right, we want to find out why it is that it wasn't quite working for you and now it is. That's have to be a question for the players. But I mean, basically, the way I've worked here with Ray Lewington, who was with me before, and what was an academy coach that came up to join us, a guy called Dave Reddington. He's now replaced by another one, Paddy McCarthy. And we've really just worked together as a group to make certain that we put in front of the players what we think they need to have put in front of them, and then we've hoped that we get some response from them. That's not been much more complicated than that, and I haven't done anything different really in this new spell than in the old spell. In fact, if you've been watching the training sessions we did 2 years ago, and then you watch the training sessions today, you'd probably be saying, well, you're doing the same work, you're doing the same things, you're giving the same messages. And that's because they're the messages that we believe are the right messages. They're the messages we believe can help a team become a winning team.
Well, you're certainly a welcome back return, at least for Crystal Palace, brought quote unquote out of retirement. You didn't actually retire, people retire, you really.
Yeah, that's right.
But you have wealth of knowledge in terms of your managerial and coaching career, and through all your entire life in this wealth of knowledge, do you sometimes look at some of the younger managers today and look at the same mistakes they are making now that you made in the past, and what sort of advice would you give them?
I don't think they have to make mistakes today. They just have to be unfortunate enough to get caught up in a period where the results don't go their way, and then people lose faith in them immediately. And I think a lot of very good managers and a lot of very good coaches are finding themselves deprived, if you like, of their job for no other reason than that the team they're working with has hit a spell where they've lost a few games on the bounce, and people decide we need a new voice, a new face to sort of, if you like, reactivate the team and reactivate the players. I'm not saying I believe in that necessarily. I believe in competence. I think a lot of very competent managers, both young and middle-aged and even old, are losing jobs not because of lack of competence or that they're not really doing the job they should be doing. It's because we are living in a world at the moment, especially in the Premier League, where survival is so vitally important financially, that the moment a team starts to wobble, the moment they
people are not given time to fix things.
No, that's right. And I'm not certain every time they're being a bad one's being replaced by a good one. It's just one who's working is being replaced by another one who's working. And quite often, unfortunately, we don't necessarily see an upturn in a team's fortune all the time because the players aren't being changed. The players within the season are more likely to be the ones that have caused the previous manager to be dismissed.
Did you ever feel in your career that you should have been given more time then? Not
really. I mean, Liverpool was a short one. But I knew when I went into Liverpool there was a risk there because the people who brought me in left almost immediately and new owners came in, and I don't think I was a popular choice with some of the supporter groups around Liverpool. They wanted somebody else. And then when we didn't start well, we had a poor start. We were even below the middle of the table, I think, and that for Liverpool is a bad situation. They quickly acted and decided we'll go back to what other people want in the first place. So I wouldn't even say there I felt I should have been given more time. I'd like to have believed.
Was there a decision in your manager career you said you'd do differently this time around? If you were to go back to a moment and change that decision, what
no,
would it be?
I would have still taken it. You know, when the job offer came along, even though I knew that this possibility existed that they might not like me as much, and if we didn't get off to a good start maybe they might quickly change. I still think it was the right time. I had 2.5 wonderful years at Fulham. We'd been very, very successful, and when a job like Liverpool comes your way, it's a bit like when the job at Inter came my way. You know that it's not going to be an easy one to succeed with, but I think you would regret more if you said, no, I think I'll stay in my comfort zone here where I am and not take that bigger job where there's a risk of failure. So I think Blackburn probably is the worst one in that respect there, but I blame myself there. You know, after being so successful the first year to then be sacked before Christmas, you know, with us in the bottom three, I think if I'd have handled that differently, if I'd have handled it as I probably would have done now, as I am today, I think I could have survived that, and I think I could have helped the team survive in the Premier League. We wouldn't have got into Europe again, but I think we'd have probably survived. But I didn't handle that particularly well, so I don't blame them for getting rid of me. I blame myself for not dealing with the situation better.
That's the thing, isn't it? You've gone through so many different clubs and as well as national teams. You've gone abroad, perhaps at a period of time where it wasn't a common thing to go abroad. What sort of inspired you to make that step?
Well, I think there are two aspects to that. I mean, there are people like myself, you know, 29 years of age, quite anxious really to stay in full-time professional football if possible, and either as a player, but no one wanted me in that area, or as a coach where there was some burgeoning interest in me as a coach. That offer and possibility for me to take that sort of job came from abroad. So it wasn't a difficult decision, really. The other decision would have been say no to this opportunity and stay where you are, which was playing non-league football and doing some teaching as well, you know, combined with the non-league football. I didn't want that. I'd much prefer to be working full-time in football. That offer came to me from Sweden, so I took that opportunity. And then having done that, the moves abroad after that become easier, of course, because you're not feeling that sort of chains, if you like, that are binding you to England and English football. So some of the people that you might be referring to, it's slightly different. You know, they're leaving something that they've really established here for themselves in England, and then have to decide, am I going to leave this and leave this world where I can still get jobs to go and ply my trade elsewhere? So I think my situation is slightly different in that respect. But I must also say that I regard it as a great privilege that has been given to me in terms of my football career, because I think it's given me so much more than a lengthy spell in one country would have given me. So I regard myself as being very lucky.
I feel like this chat could go on forever and ever, and I'm sure one day.
I'm talking too much of it.
I mean, in the sense whereby you have so many stories. I mean, anyone would have loved to pick up a book that you've written about your life before. Has that ever been considered that you write your own?
Yeah, one or two people have mentioned it, but I think the problem for me with that one is that I'm a book lover. I've got enormous respect for books and authors and the written word, spoken word too, for that matter. So I've never been interested in the sort of book that would be written by a journalist who is basically putting words in my mouth and piecing together bits of my career and asking me to make a few comments about it. That's the sort of book that people write. If I was going to write one, I think I'd want to spend more time on it myself. I'd want it to be also a book which is aimed at coaches and people within football, managers, you know, interested people, even just the fathers who coach their kids on a Sunday afternoon. I want it to be a little bit more geared towards leadership, geared towards what football coaching and management is all about, rather than what happened to me when I was at this club and what happened to me at that club.
But you've such an interesting life, though. You've lived quite a life. Yeah.
Oh, it's been a wonderful life. It is. Long may it continue.
Would you have a movie made of you?
No.
And if you do, who would play you? You think?
I thought she's just about to ask that question. Yeah. It depends whether they're looking at me now, whether they were looking at me when I was younger, but I don't know. I mean, it needs to be. I'm a good friend with Bill Nye. I'd be more than happy if he wants to play the part. So ask Bill if he's interested.
Okay, brilliant, Roy. It's been great chatting
My
with
pleasure.
you, and of course, all the best as well for the rest.
Thank you, Michelle. No problem at all.